Hey guys, welcome back to Jessin Reads Romance. I'm Jessin. Today is the start of a new vlog. I'm so excited for this vlog because I've been really in the mood to read some taboo and dark romances. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna do it. This will be the first time on this channel that I will be reading and talking about any taboo or dark romances, so I feel like I need to give out a little bit of a warning. Taboo and dark romances are not for everybody, and if you don't like that, I am not encouraging you to read it. If you find any one of these trigger warnings in the least bit disturbing, then you probably won't like to read any of the taboo or dark romances that I'm going to read on my channel or recommend to any of you guys. You're probably not gonna like it. This is not the video for you, and these books are not the books for you, but I just feel like I need to cover all my bases to really stress that these books do carry some disturbing themes, and I want to warn everybody so that nobody can say like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I'm telling you right now, this will disturb some people. Now, I did create a list for this because I wanted to kind of cover my bases. This is not everything that's included in dark and taboo romances, but this is what normally I'll read about. This is what I've come across in the books that I've read. I know that there's some others, but I really don't like to read those. So anyway, these are the ones that I feel like I should warn you about, and that the books that I want to read for this reading vlog might contain. I'm not sure because I'm going in pretty blind to these books, but I just want to let you guys know. Okay, so some themes explored in dark and taboo romances, and it's not limited to this, are bullying, blackmail, non-consensual interactions including sexual assault and rape, captor-captive dynamics, age gaps severe, cheating, power discrepancies, stalking, abuse, serial killer romances. So those are all of the romances that, oh, and also incestuous relationships as well. Yeah, I think that about covers it. So if that disturbs you, this is not the video for you. Yes, I like reading taboo and dark romances. I'm not ashamed of that. I know it's not for everybody, but it is something that I enjoy reading, and I know a lot of other people enjoy reading, and I'm not gonna stop reading them. I am a person that can separate fact and fiction, the real world from the fictional world. So no, I don't condone these types of relationships in real life, but I am able to separate that from like just reading for my enjoyment and something that I wouldn't condone in real life. Also, you might be wondering, because I have mentioned in a couple of my reviews or in my vlogs, I will judge regular romance differently and hold it to like a higher moral standard. Like if there are iffy consent scenes in regular romances that are not specifically advertised to be these darker romances, yes, I am going to call it out and be like, this is not okay, because in these dark romances, this is the whole purpose of the romance, is to write books about this, about these gray areas or morally wrong areas. So yeah, I judge them completely separately on a separate scale, and I will rate taboo and dark romances 5 stars. So the books that I plan on reading for this vlog are Untouchable by Sam Mariano. I already started this book and I'll talk about that in a second. A Lesson in Thorns, and also Sea of Ruin. I think that I'm going to do the Pam Godwin Sea of Ruin. I'm excited for this, and I might add another one. It just depends on how fast I'm reading this, but I'm debating on a 4th one since I'm kind of almost done with Untouchable. I'm halfway there. I'm flying through it. So Untouchable was recommended to me by Jen from the Book Refuge, and it is a bully romance. This book starts off like pedal to the metal. The very first chapter, the very first scene is questionable consent. There are some very disturbing scenes that happen, and yes, it involves the hero and the heroine of the story. This is a case of severe bullying. And let me just tell you, I've never read anything by Sam Mariano, and oh my goodness, this writing is so compelling. It's like I could not put this book down. As soon as I picked it up, I was like, I'm just gonna read a couple chapters. The way that the story just kind of like thrusts you into this scenario. Our heroine, Zoe, has reported one of the football players for assaulting her, for sexually assaulting her, got him suspended for the rest of his senior year, and he and his friends gang up on her. Now, the hero is not the person that she accused of assault. That's Carter Mahoney. That is the hero. And oh my God, Carter Mahoney. I love him so much, which is so strange to say, because in the very first scene that we meet Carter and we see him interacting with Zoe, he actually assaults her on the page. And after this happens, he is like very cruel to her. After this happens, he kind of like inserts himself into Zoe's life. He appears at her house and just like acts like nothing's wrong and kind of becomes a fixture in her life. And I really love the development between these two characters because Zoe's really interested in finding out like there's something different about Carter, the way that he came after me and the look in his eye and the way that he approached all of this, like what makes a person want to do that to another person. And so she is very invested in finding out like why he is the way he is, and she sort of becomes fascinated with him. And she is a very strong character. She puts up a really good fight. She's always there to like not back down against Carter's insane tendencies. She might be like really scared and intimidated inside, but like no matter what, she's not backing down. And I really love that about her. I just really love her character. So that has been my experience so far with Untouchable. I don't want to say too much more because I'm kind of at a part where like I want to continue before I start talking about it more, but I definitely want to go a little bit more in depth about this story and why I think that this is going to be a 5-star read already. I'm almost halfway there and I think it's going to be 5 stars. I am absolutely loving it, and like I already purchased this book, like the physical copy, because I love it so much already. So I will give you some updates once I get further into it. Hey guys, I have a weekend reading update for you, and I could have done this yesterday, but I was so invested in reading Sea of Ruin because I finished Untouchable. I was like, chef's kiss, I'm about to talk about that, and then I immediately jumped into Sea of Ruin. I cannot put that book down, so I didn't. I was like, I didn't even want to stop reading to give you guys updates. It was just so compelling, so good. This reading vlog is like the best reading vlog that I've done yet since I started the channel, so like, yes, I love it. It's currently Sunday. I am just did a lot of kind of like spring cleaning, not spring cleaning, winter cleaning? I don't know. I got rid of a lot of clothes. Oh, and I also got the sweetest Christmas card from Aaliyah from Romance Schmomance. If you're not following her on Instagram, you should totally follow her. I love her to death. She has some really good book recommendations, and I'm actually really excited that I have this on the same vlog that I'm talking about Sea of Ruin, because I know that she really loved that book and she recommended it to me a while back, and I'll get into that, but I want to talk about Untouchable first. So Untouchable was hands down one of the best dark romances that I've read in a really long time. I love the writing style, and I really like the character dynamics between the hero and the heroine. Like I said before, the book really starts off pedal to the metal. Carter assaults Zoe, and after that he really kind of gaslights her. She decides to take off 2 days of school after he assaults her because she's just like understandably not okay, but she is more okay than I expected her to be. Zoe's such a strong character, and she's like, I can't believe that happened to me, but she's also knows that she can't hide forever, and she can't really report Carter because when he was assaulting her, it's very interesting. I think that this is what really held my fascination the whole time. She was so adamant about not keeping quiet when the other guy, the other football player, groped her, and she was so adamant about not being quiet, but when Carter comes on the scene and he actually assaults her, way worse than what the other football player does, and she agrees that she is going to keep quiet, and it's because she feels like Carter is actually, something's wrong with him. Like she's not sure if he would actually kill her, and he could get away with it because he has so much power in the town. And I think that often is kind of a theme with bully romances. The person who's like the bully either comes from a very affluent background, or their parents have a lot of influence in the town. Mostly they're very rich. They can pretty much do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and they're very popular. All that goes for Carter, but like all of his friends are also scared of him. So he really carries a lot of influence, and she just like, I'm gonna go along with this and keep my head up high. This is my senior year, I just need to get through it. But while she's at home on the second day, her mom's like, oh, someone's here to see you. And Carter walks in and he's just like, hey babe, brought you some chicken noodle soup. I heard that you were sick, and you know, I brought the notes for history because they have history together. Zoe's reaction is like, what are you doing here? Like, you need to leave. And her mom is like, oh my goodness, he's being so nice, don't be rude. And so there's a lot of gaslighting because Carter's just kind of like, shucks, Zoe, you know, oh, I know how she is, whatever. I'm sure she's just not feeling well. And her mother just like, oh my goodness. Her mom's really excited that someone as popular as Carter Mahoney, because everyone knows the Mahoneys, they're extremely rich. They're from New York and they're living in Texas right now. To her mom, she's like, oh, this is the ticket to us not being pariahs in the town ever since you accused that other football player of sexual assault. Her family's really faced a lot of flack because of it. So her mom's just like really concerned with like the opinion of other people, and she wants it to be over. And so she sees Carter as a way for Zoe to get back in like the good graces of the popular crowd and the town as a whole. So Zoe's feeling very isolated, and I think it was all very well written, the isolation that Zoe was feeling, how Carter really kind of cornered her. But strangely, she never felt scared enough to let him steamroll her completely. And I think that's why I really like their relationship. No matter how bad it got, and no matter how many devious things that Carter did to her and to get her, she still didn't just roll over quietly. But it was such an interesting read to witness Zoe kind of start craving Carter's brand of sex. I mean, it's very forceful. It's very rapey. But she eventually wants it and kind of tells him to do it to her. Another thing that I really liked about the way that Sam Mariano wrote these characters was Carter's character. You can tell that he was a little bit psychotic, but he also had these real moments of genuine like affection, and like you can see he has a heart. He's not completely just like devoid of emotion and doesn't know what it is. And one of the biggest things that really helped the story, and it happened very early on, he found out where she works because Zoe works at a bookstore, and he takes his little sister Chloe to the bookstore. So there's this little 5-year-old cute adorable girl that comes in, and he's so sweet with her, and it definitely softens Zoe up toward him to see him being so like affectionate and such a good big brother to her. He really kind of has a little bit of a leg up when he brings Chloe onto the scene. And the horrible way that their relationship started off is not even like I wouldn't say the biggest conflict, but there's another conflict of Zoe wanting to get into a good school, but her parents don't have enough money for it, so she's really relying on scholarships. She cannot let her grades slip, but she starts spending a lot of time with Carter. She craves to spend a lot of time with Carter, and she doesn't bomb a test, but she doesn't ace it. And she really hates when Carter uses his money on her. So that's a bit of a conflict as well, them coming from two different social backgrounds. I just really love this story. I love how it played out. There was a little bit of a twist, not twist, but a little bit of mystery that's kept about Carter throughout the book, and I'm not going to spoil that, but I love the way that it played out. I love the explanation of how Zoe says like, he's a monster, but he's my monster. And you never feel like she was brainwashed, and she was very much aware that their relationship, when viewed from the outside, she knows. She's like, it's an abusive relationship. She's not trying to justify the relationship at all, and I think that that's what I really loved about it. It's like she knows she's in one, and she knows that they have very rough sex, and he's very forceful. But Carter does eventually learn how to open up to her, but he never changes his ways, and I kind of really appreciate that. Like he doesn't like turn into a good guy by the end of the book. He's still Carter, and he's going to do different things that are kind of devious to get what he wants. And he absolutely, once he has his sights set on Zoe, he's so fascinated by her, and he will never let her go. So it was such a good dark romance. I loved it. Oh my god, like so much. And then I started Sea of Ruin. Sea of Ruin, so good. So this is a dark historical pirate romance, and a lot of the darkness really comes from the time period that it's set in. Our heroine Bennett, she is a female pirate, and living in a world where, especially in a pirate's world where it's mostly ruled by men, it can be really tough. The way that men treat women in this time period, I think that that's pretty prominent. You get a scene very early on when she's only 14 years old. Her mother has kind of fallen from grace because she fell in love with somebody who was not of the aristocracy. She's from England. Her father was like a viscount or whatever, or an earl. I can't remember which one. She was titled, and she got pregnant with our heroine, Bennett. And the father was like a nobody. And we later find out, not very long after, that he's actually a pirate. So Bennett's kind of wild, and she does not want to fall in with her mother's plans to marry her off to somebody in the nobility. And there's this really old guy that wants Bennett for himself. But the day that she's supposed to be presented to this guy, she hears these 2 dogs barking. She is like, oh my God, he's here. And we discover that she's been meeting with her father, who is a pirate, in secret for years, and that the mom does not know. And she doesn't see her father very often. She really loves him. So she doesn't want to miss this opportunity, and she knows that she's going to get in trouble. She's going to do it anyway. And she really wants to basically live with her father. She's like, I can be a pirate. I can be with you. Like, this is all I want to do. I don't want to marry. I don't want to do any of this. And the father really like indulges her and gives her this compass and says, like, you know, one day this will lead you to a treasure that I have hidden for you. You just got to figure it out because there's this like key. And she's like, I'm not good at riddles. And he's like, you'll figure it out whenever you need to, and gives her like a little bit of a clue. But this book quickly turns tragic and dark. Like right off the bat, when she's young, she experiences some very traumatizing events in her childhood that leads her to become an actual pirate. So she spent years working her way up, and she's become the captain of one of these ships that her father actually like commandeered for her and be like, one day this will be yours, the Jade. And so she is the captain of this ship, and I really love how she really commands it. All of the men on her ship respect her so much. They love her as a captain. There's no resentment because she's a woman captain, a woman pirate. No resentment at all. She's really earned her place, and I love that. And I was messaging Jen while I was reading it because I was like, oh my God, this happened. I need to vent about it. Not vent about it, but like I was so excited about it that I need to talk to somebody, be like, I can't believe this just happened. So thank you, Jen, for being there while I was like freaking out about this book. We quickly discover that Bennett is actually married to a pirate named Priest, and she's been on the run hiding from him for about 2 years because he betrayed her. He slept with somebody else. Like, they were together for about like a year and a half, and a year and a half into their relationship, they decided to get married. And I don't know if it was the night of their wedding or very soon after, she discovers this letter. And this letter, it's not even that he cheated. This letter was from somebody who was like deeply in love with her husband, Priest. And so that was such a deep betrayal to her that she was just like, no, I can't believe I was so stupid to give my heart to somebody. And her father had always told her, you know, you wait for that one. And so she was like, no. So she decides to run away from him. And so she's been on the run forever, and finally he catches up to her. And I don't want to like spoil any of the stuff, but I love their dynamic. I loved Priest's character. I love the way that Bennett really stands up to him. I just love all of that. And something else happens where she is actually put into a position where she has to kind of sacrifice herself for her crew. And this is pretty early on in the book, not quite halfway through. So she becomes a prisoner of this English Commodore. So he's part of the English Navy, and he's very stoic, doesn't crack a smile. His name's Ashley Cutler, and he definitely puts his foot down and shows Bennett that, you know, you might be the infamous daughter of Edric Sharp, and you've made a name for yourself. You're a wanted pirate. Will basically earn me a promotion and money or reward, all that, and you're gonna obey me, and you're not in charge anymore. This is my ship. And oh boy, the alphaness is like off the chain. I love it. I love his character so much, like Ashley. So I have a little bit of spoilers to talk about, so I'm going to put a spoiler warning right here for the duration of the chat where I'm going to spoil some things. So if you've not read Sea of Ruin and you're interested in reading Sea of Ruin and you don't want to be spoiled, do not listen to this next part. So I was recommended this book a while ago. I saw a lot of people reading it, And Malia actually was one of the ones that was like, hey, I think that you would enjoy Sea of Ruin. And someone else that I knew, Juliet, told me, like, I really loved it until about halfway or 60% of the way through. And it has like a lot of kind of excessive rape. And so I was like, I don't know. The thing about reading about rape is, like I said, for dark romance, I kind of expect some of those aspects to be in it. And I don't know why, but in dark romance, I prefer, if there's going to be non-con, it be between the hero and the heroine, rather than rape as a point of conflict and a way to put your characters through like the ringer, like influence trauma onto them so that they have something that they need to overcome. I don't like that, and especially in regular romance. Like in historical romance, if the heroine is untrusting so many times, like I don't know, 8 times out of 10, the thing that they've experienced in their past that makes them untrusting towards men is that they were assaulted or raped. And I'm just like, it's such a commonly used thing in romance to, I don't know, give their heroine character. I don't know. I don't understand why rape is like such the go-to thing when constructing a heroine's history in historical romance. So it kind of turned me off hearing about that. I didn't want to read excessive rape because it happens. Like, and Jen, I know that you love Outlander, but I stopped reading Outlander because everybody was getting raped like all the time. And I was just like, oh my God, I know that this time period that they're living is so harsh, but like, I don't want to read about it. I really don't want to read about my characters getting raped. Anyway, I got to a scene between Ashley and Bennett. So Ashley and Bennett are in a sexual relationship now. She's very attracted to Ashley, and she still loves her husband Priest, even though she's furious at him and doesn't want to give him another shot. She is feeling extreme affection towards Ashley, this pull. After many days and nights of them like circling each other and getting each other off, she's like, I want him. So she goes to him while he is in the middle of the night jacking off on the balcony of the ship, and she's like, I want you in me. And earlier in the week, they were actually kind of talking about Bennett being like a whore because, of course, in this day and age, women can't be sexually liberated. They can't have sexual partners besides their husband. And so Ashley's very like stiff upper lip, British peerage kind of mentality, saying like, you know, accusing Bennett of whoring herself out to men. She challenges that. She's like, if I was a man and I did this, like nobody would say anything. So I'm going to do what I want to do. And yeah, I've enjoyed sex, so I'm not going to be ashamed of that. And they got to talking about, has she ever done anal before? And she says yes. And by somebody very skilled at it. Like, it was fantastic. It was amazing. So back to the scene where she decides that she wants to have full-on sex with Ashley, and she approaches him while he's out on the balcony, and she's actually really falling for him. Like, she is so falling for him. He decides that he's not going to have regular intercourse with her. He wants to have anal with her, and she says no. She doesn't want to be turned away from him because she's like, he's trying to separate himself from what's happening. He's trying to treat me like a whore, and he's ignoring the way that he feels about me, because she knows that he is feeling something for her. He like pets her when they're like asleep every night. He loves running his fingers through her hair. He loves like taking care of her in that way, and he is fighting so hard against it. And in this instance, he's fighting so hard that he's just like, I'm going to treat her like a whore so that I don't fall for her. And she knows that this is what he's doing, and she's like, no, not like this. I don't want it to be like this. So it's a very non-con scene, but again, dark romance, it didn't bother me, and I really actually loved the fact that right after they have a conversation about it, and she confronts him about it. She walks into the room and he's on the floor, head in hands. He's feeling kind of awful about it, and he justifies it, saying, I didn't want to fall into your plans of, you want me to get you pregnant so that I don't turn you in, and I'm not going to fall into your plans. So he's thinking that she's playing with him. He's falling for her, and she's playing with him. And she sets him straight, being like, I actually can't get pregnant. I got like stabbed in the stomach. I no longer can get pregnant. And yeah, it was kind of a plan to make you think that I was pregnant, but I couldn't pull that off for like months. Obviously, you would figure it out, and I'm actually falling for you. And so they have that conversation. He was just like, I fucked up. I fucked all of this up, and I'm sorry, and give me another chance. I need you to forgive me. And she's like, you need to earn the forgiveness. And I really just like the way that it all played out. So it didn't bother me. The scene didn't bother me. Like I said, dark romance. So I was okay with it. One thing that I did not love about this book is later on, one of Ashley's superior officers comes on board his ship while Ashley is going to search for Priest. And he really can't say no when his superior says like, oh, well, I'll hold this lady pirate on my ship since you can't put her in your cell, whatever that's called. I forgot what it's called on a pirate ship. But anyway, I'll take her on my ship. And Bennett does get raped for like 2 weeks. And I think that it could have been taken out of the story, period, just completely, because when she eventually does get rescued by Ashley, she's almost too fine with what just happened. And she is a very strong character, but she just like, it's not your fault, because Ashley's feeling so beat up about it. He's like, I shouldn't have, wasted my time when I couldn't find Priest on the island. I should have come back for you. I knew something was wrong. And he ends up by killing the guy who was raping her. But she just kind of like, it's fine, it's fine. Like, I'm tough. I can handle it. And I don't really love the line where she's like, and I'm better for it now because it happened. I did not like that. I don't want my characters to experience rape with somebody that they have absolutely no interest in. I don't want to read about it, especially when it doesn't really affect her. It more affected Ashley. And I feel like there was another way to make him realize that he was willing to throw a lot of things away and jeopardize his career in order to be with her, save her, do whatever. So I didn't love that. And again, this is the spoiler section, so you should have read this book if you're listening to what I'm saying. We find out that the person that Priest cheated on Bennett with is actually Ashley. They were falling in love at the same time, and Ashley was the one that broke it off because he's very straight-laced and he doesn't want to get caught and hung for being with a man. And so he broke it off, and he was just going to do his duty, marry some girl that he's not in love with, and just kind of fall in line with what you're supposed to be doing, what he's supposed to be doing, what's expected of him. And I had a lot of clues because it was made such a big deal, and I was like more than halfway through and no other person was introduced, and I'm like, they wouldn't have made such a big deal about Priest actually being in love with somebody else if they weren't going to bring this person on the scene. And the only people that we've seen and we've gotten to really know are Priest, Bennett, and Ashley. And so I was like, it's Ashley. And then there was also the whole 2-year things, because he's like, Ashley told Bennett, I haven't been with anybody in 2 years. And 2 years ago was when Bennett found out that Priest had cheated on her and left him. So it all happened around that time. Priest eventually does come back on the scene. He has to kind of rescue Ashley and Bennett together. And one thing, and I'm giving this book a 4.5 stars, one thing that I wanted more of is them three together. Like, I was really missing like the thrupleness of it all. When I read about polyamorous relationships, I want to actually spend time with them in a relationship toward the end. Like, I don't want to just leave them right when they've discovered each other. And most of the time spent with Ashley and Priest and Bennett all together, there's a lot of horrifying things that are happening, and it's a lot of rescuing, nursing back to health, and all that. And I just wanted more time with them just together, because Priest wasn't on the scene for a long time. Like, he was there in the beginning, and then the majority of the book it was Bennett and Ashley, and I really love their relationship as too. But the little glimpse that we get of Priest and Bennett together, like, I wanted more of that, and I definitely wanted more of them as a whole. So yeah, I still really loved it. I wish I got a little bit more out of the throuple polyamorous relationship with them. I wanted more polyamorous sex as well. That was just kind of like, there wasn't really a lot of it, and I wanted it. So, but oh my god, I still love this book. 4.5 stars. Could have been like a 5++ stars if I had like no rape of Bennett by the disgusting naval officer and more relationship things with Priest and Bennett and Ashley as a throuple. So I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And last night I started A Lesson in Thorns. I'm not that far through. I didn't get a lot of time to read today, so hopefully I'll get a good chunk of it tonight and maybe finish it tomorrow and then close out this vlog. I'm so interested in A Lesson of Thorns. I don't have a lot of information going into it. I've just heard that this is a series by Sierra Simone that's like really intriguing, really different. And Jen also told me that when I finish the first book, I'm gonna immediately want to start the second book. So we'll see about that. I don't know. I might jump into the second book and include it in this vlog. It just depends. But I do have a lot of stuff to do. I need to film some end of the year videos today. So I need to kind of like look presentable. So yeah, those are my plans. I'll update you guys when I get more into A Lesson of Thorns because I really only read like 2 chapters. So not much to say. You meet a very big cast of characters and they're very young children when we first meet them, and they're on this estate in England, and there's this hidden passageway to get to this Thorn chapel. Almost ruins, like it's in ruins. I think they said like it doesn't even really have a roof. But anyway, I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued. I don't know if we have like a main character or if this story is just about all 5 or 6, I think there's 6 characters, 6 kids. I don't know if it's about all of them, or if we're going to focus on like 2 characters and their romance in this entire series, or each book is a different person. I have no idea. Like I said, I'm going in blind completely to this book, so I'll update you more whenever I have more information on that. Small reading update for A Lesson in Thorns. I'm getting a little bit more info about the story and I'm intrigued. It's very mysterious. I like the way that this book opens. They're all children, so there's 6 characters, and so far I've only been in the point of view of one particular character. Proserpina. Proserpina is the character who we get the point of view of, which I find very interesting because it's the Roman iteration of Persephone. And so I'm like, is this a Persephone and Hades retelling? Because that would be really cool. We get some very interesting vibes in the first scene with them as children. They're all at this estate called Thorn Chapel. And we don't get a lot of information. We just know that they find like this secret passageway or something into this actual ruins of a chapel. And there's this scene where like the children are like, well, let's get married because we're in a chapel. Who's getting married? So Auden is the child who his parents own this estate. He's going to marry Proserpina. And oh, I already lied. That chapter is actually an Auden point of view, because when he is marrying Proserpina, and there's another kid that they called Saint Sebastian. He comes and he wants to be married to them too. And Auden feels this incredible pull towards both of them. But like he wants them, but he has this strange feeling like he wants to hurt them too. So I'm like, this is so fascinating. What is going on? And so it's like those 3 is the connection that I'm feeling. And I don't know if this is a menage, if this is a throuple. I'm going in so blind to this book. I've just heard that this is a very interesting series to read. So anyway, the other characters, so we have Auden, Proserpina, which her nickname's Poe. She likes people to call her Poe. Saint Sebastian, which I'm already loving because he's like this broody, dark, mysterious man. And I also really love him because it reminds me of Sebastian St. Vincent, which is my favorite Lisa Kleypas hero. And then we have Beckett, who's actually an ordained priest now. We catch up with all the children once they're in their mid to early 20s. And then we have Rebecca and Delphine. So 6 characters, 3 boys and 3 girls. But from what I'm gathering, at least what I'm assuming, and I'm not very far in, Auden, Saint Sebastian, and Poe are the main characters of this story. I don't know. We'll see if I get any more point of views. I did just pass a scene where Poe texts her father that she's at Thorn Chapel. She just arrived. All of them are there. and her father for some reason did not want her to go to Thornchapel. And there's a small flashback scene where she remembers having a conversation with her father, arguing about how she's taking a job that requires her to go to Thornchapel, and her father's like, you cannot go, don't go. And she asks him, what were you doing all those weeks in the library at Thornchapel? Why were we there in the first place? That original summer where all the kids met. So I'm just like, is this a cult? Like, what is happening? I'm just so intrigued. I have no idea what's happening. I love going in not knowing a thing. This excites me. So hopefully we'll get a good chunk read tonight. I don't know though. Not sure if I plan on staying up late to read this, but I guess we'll see. I guess it depends on the pacing of the novel. If something really crazy starts happening that I can't put it down, it might be a late night, but I'm also kind of exhausted from the weekend, so we'll see how much I can get done before Monday. I also finished editing my videos for Monday and Tuesday. I also finished editing my videos for Monday and Wednesday. So that's all done, and hopefully I finish this book by tomorrow, and then I can edit it, be done for the rest of the week, because it is Christmas week, and I just want to relax. And of course, I'm not going to be doing anything on Christmas Day besides watching Bridgerton, and I can imagine that that's going to be a late night as well, because as much as I want to savor it, it's going to be a binge. It's going to be a binge watch. I'm going to have to go back to the beginning and rewatch it. That we get such an amazing gift on Christmas Day. Bridgerton's. So excited for it. And probably won't get any updates tonight, but I'll update you in the morning. Bye guys. Little update on A Lesson in Thorns. I finished it last night. I was so interested to see where Sierra Simone was taking this story. And I gotta start all the way back in the beginning because I was trying to kind of get a hold on what the base of the story was, because we do get a little prologue of all the characters as children. We definitely get an inkling that something bigger is going on, and it slowly is revealed throughout the story. So I feel like I have a better understanding of how to approach talking about this book and trying to be as spoiler free as possible for a portion of my talk about this book. But of course I will get into spoilers because there's something that I want to talk about that happens at the end, because this book does kind of end on a cliffhanger that sets up the rest of the series. So I definitely want to talk about that, but I will put on a spoiler warning when that time comes. I wasn't sure if there was only certain characters that this particular book would focus on, or if all 6 of the children that we see in the prologue, all their stories were going to kind of unfold at the same time. And I definitely think that it's simultaneous in the case of this first book, but 3 characters get just a tiny bit more focus than the rest of them. But they're all intertwined. It's hard to separate any one of them from each other because it's all intertwined. This is only the 3rd book that I read by Sierra Simone. I read Priest, Midnight Mass. I've not yet read Sinner, which I heard was everyone's favorite. But so A Lesson in Thorns is the 3rd book that I've read by Sierra Simone, and I really love the way that she incorporates religion and spirituality, and she really has such a beautiful way of expressing how sensual things can kind of cross over between religion and sex. And I know that that's not very comfortable for everybody, and Priest was not a very comfortable book for a lot of people. I totally enjoyed it and I totally loved it. There are some elements to that in this book. There are scenes comparing Christian rites and pagan rites and all kind of stuff like that together, and I think it was a very interesting way to go about this story. Okay, I'm being really vague. But the 3 characters that I feel like got the most focus in book 1 of A Lesson in Thorns were Poe, Auden, and Saint. They had an intense connection in the prologue, and I feel like they're more under the microscope in A Lesson in Thorns than the other 3 characters. Beckett, Delphine, and oh no, what's her name? Rosie? Roxanne? Hold on. 6 characters to keep track of. Rebecca. Oh my god. Anyway, But it's a more complicated story than just saying that it's focused on Auden and Poe and Saint, because like I said, they're intertwined. A lot of it's intertwined. When we catch up with the characters as adults, they're new adults, and Poe takes a job to kind of get the library of Thorns Chapel in order now that Auden has inherited the estate. His father has died, and it's supposed to be Poe's traveling there, and she's going to be alone because Auden's not going to be there. He's going to be more like in London and stuff like that. But that's not the case. When she arrives at Thorns Chapel, all 6 of them are there once again, just like they were as children. And there is this kind of, it's not a secret, it's not a spoiler per se, it's just something that's slowly revealed, that the summer that they spent together and that we see in the prologue, they met because their parents were all holed up in the library of Thorns Chapel doing something that they were completely unaware of because they're kids. They have no interest in the workings of whatever the adults were doing, and they were playing on the grounds in the maze just like kids are wont to do. So they weren't aware of what the adults were doing. They were too young to even be interested in questioning, why are we all here for the summer? What's going on? So that's a mystery that's explored. Why were our parents here? What were they doing? And there's lots of discoveries that they make in the library. It's very cool. I love the way it unfolds, honestly. All of that is very, very interesting, and not everything is revealed. We do know that Poe's father does not want her to go to Thorns Chapel again. He, at one point, begs her to come home to reconsider. Poe is feeling a pull to Thorns Chapel, the place, but she's also going there because she has received a mysterious note from her mother who disappeared a while back. Her mother had returned to Thorns Chapel and they never heard from her again. So there's a mystery of what happened to Poe's mom. Lots of dark things with Auden and his parents. His mother drank herself to death, and the father, he did not have a good relationship with him. Saint is kind of the black sheep of the group, and we don't know why. When Poe arrives at Thorns Chapel, she discovers that Delphine and Auden are engaged, and Delphine is the one that is very prominent on social media. She's curvaceous, she's embraced her curves and become extremely popular, kind of like social media influencer, basically. Auden is an architect. Rebecca, why can't I remember Rebecca's name? I'll keep wanting to call her Roxanne for some reason. Rebecca is a landscape architect, and she's there to help Auden redo the gardens and everything. Beckett is a priest, and we later find out what Saint does, but his background is a little bit more, you gotta read it to find out. So most of the time you're in the point of view. most of the time you're reading in the point of view of Poe, and she is very much into kinky sex, but what is very interesting is she is still a virgin. She is a clear submissive. She likes to be spanked and whipped, and there's some very intense scenes, and it all happens as a group. Very few scenes happen with just a couple people, like not in a group together. And funnily enough, though Poe is a virgin, she is a very intense sexual attraction and need for sexual intimacy, and that spills over into her attraction to a lot of people. We find out that Rebecca herself is a dom, and so she very much understands what Poe needs. She discovers it because there's like marks on the back of her thighs. Auden's fighting his attraction to Poe while he's definitely in a relationship with Delphine, and that all plays out in a very interesting way. And at this point, I feel like I need to jump into some spoilers because I think some interesting things were done with the relationships in this book. So if you've not read this book and you don't want to be spoiled, spoilers coming right at you. What I find very interesting is that the relationships are pretty clear to me from the get-go. In the prologue, there is an intense connection, and almost like this powerful force of nature has drawn Auden, Poe, and Saint to get together, all 3 of them, to be in a relationship together from the prologue. When we meet them as adults, Poe is definitely feeling an attraction to Auden, very strong pull to Saint. Delphine, you can tell that her and Rebecca are very much going to be a thing. They're fighting it. Delphine is with Auden because they're best friends, and it kind of felt natural that, yeah, I feel comfortable with you in a relationship, but it's not because they're in love with each other. Actually, the majority of people in this book are virgins. I think the only ones that are not virgins are Beckett, the priest, and Rebecca. Saint, Auden, Delphine, and Poe are all virgins. They discover in the library that their parents were a part of this ritual, which is very interesting. They find a picture of all of them together, and you can tell like they're very intimate. Like all their parents look very intimate together. Apparently there's a very well known rumor that Auden's father wanted Auden and Poe to be together, to get married, to be in a relationship. And it's because Auden's father was kind of in love with Poe's mother and felt like they should be together. It was very complex sexual dynamics between all the parents, and that spills over into all of the children in present day. But I do feel like, though there are some sexual experiences that happen between all of them, particularly with Delphine and Poe, that I felt like it was done very well, very consensual. I felt like the love, but not like the soulmate. This is the HEA. I can see them all in a relationship together, because you know that certain characters have more feelings for each other. Just like Poe, Auden, and Saint, and Rebecca and Delphine, like they are paired off into me, in my mind. So while I really enjoyed this book and this journey, I didn't love where it left off. I did not love the cliffhanger, because it's kind of like the miscommunication trope, but more in the, I'm assuming that I understand what I'm seeing, and so I'm going to remove myself from the situation because I feel like I have all the information, instead of actually being like, hey, what's going on? Can we talk about this? kind of thing. So after their ritual, Auden and Poe and Saint all go in a room together. They all three have a very intense sexual experience together. Auden and Poe as well, like MMF. All the characters very much seem like they're either bi or pan. There's a history between Saint and Auden that's not fully explored in this book, and I feel like that's going to be in some later books. But I feel like after that point, after that shower scene, I understood. I was like, oh, all three of them, they're in game, and I can see them working through their relationship, working through more of the history with what their parents were doing in the later books. But Auden decides to leave the room, go back to Thorn Chapel, and pick up some stuff. And when he returns, Saint and Poe are actually having sex. And he feels like, oh, well, this means that she wants him more than me. And so I guess I'll leave them to it. And I did not like that, because I felt like the scene that happened in the shower was like, it was a very clear indication that all three of them are meant to be together. And all of a sudden, on just like, sad boy left out. Them two, they obviously want each other. They've been circling each other, and Rebecca's kind of like, yeah, they have, and like confirms his fears that, yeah, I think that you should leave them two alone. And now Auden wants to kind of embrace becoming a dom and wants Rebecca to show him the ropes, because Rebecca is a dom and he hasn't experienced, like I said, he was a virgin, so he hasn't really experienced what it really means to be a dom. And that was another aspect that was like very well done. The domination, the submission, the subspace after, the aftercare, that was all very well done. I really liked it. And I don't normally like BDSM books in the dynamic. It's not like my favorite, but I was just like enraptured with the way that this was written. I love Sierra Simone's writing. I just didn't love this cliffhanger and this, oh, we're gonna drag out Poe and Auden and Saint as a couple, as a throuple. Hopefully they end up together, all three of them in the end. I don't know that I'm gonna jump into the second book anytime soon. I was a little annoyed with where it ended up, and I don't know that it needs to be dragged out for a very long time, so I'm kind of worried because I don't want it to be stretched out over the course of the series, and then finally in the final book we finally get some communication, some understanding, and have these characters talk out their feelings. I don't know that I want to wait to the fourth book, but again, I don't want to go check and see like where it happens because I don't want to spoil myself. I do want to continue with the series. I think I just need a little bit of distance from it right now at this point, but I really loved it. I give it a 4 stars. 4.5? I think I'd give it 4 stars. yeah, I think I'm gonna settle on that. So this reading vlog was honestly one of the best that I've done. I've enjoyed all the books immensely. I did receive my paperback copy of Untouchable, which was my favorite read from this reading vlog. I did order Sea of Ruin as well because I really love that one. It didn't come in yet. This one came in surprisingly fast, like in 2 days. Really loved it. This is a very dark romance, but very well done. Like the psychology of it all, very well done. Alright guys, that is it for my reading vlog. I still feel like a little bit funny because it's like Christmas time, got like 2 days until Bridgerton releases, and it's just like I'm in this dark romance just fix. I need it. I need dark romance right now. So I think I am going to try out more San Mariano books. Jennifer mentioned the Morelli family saga, so we'll see. I might be doing another dark romance reading vlog very soon. I don't know. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe to get notified on any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.